Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Probably wasn't going to do a stream tonight. I struck out, and then my man Kelts, he dropped me a lifeline like they do on You Want to Be a Millionaire, and I accepted the lifeline. So here we are talking some Niner ball. I had to have a Friday show just because it's Friday, man. Everybody's happy. Um, had my first day of physical therapy for the knee, and we're doing that now. So, but I'm not working at the moment. So I figured, what the hell? Let's just talk some Niner ball for like the fourth time this week. What else could be better, right?
Hey, that's one of the best things is 49er football. I appreciate,
Yeah.
uh, being on with you once again. You know what I'm saying? I always appreciate doing shows with you, chopping it up about the good old San Francisco 49ers. There's a ton to talk about. They never leave. They make the content. We just talk about it. And,
Right.
and man, when have we not been in the headlines? You know what I'm saying?
There's
So
always some drama or some, back and
something.
forth. There's stuff that you can talk about that's a little bit more heavy that I kind of mentioned, and then I saw other people mention it, and you can really start up a really hot conversation if you know what I mean on some topics, but sometimes it's better left in another platform. So here we are, Friday, 2 days until we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we are all living in the Brock Purdy world here after, as we all know, what happened to Jimmy Garoppolo, a quarterback that me and Rich probably aren't really a huge fan of, but at the same time, I know he could admit he wasn't playing too bad this year. And him going down, at least for me, when it happened, I was pretty disappointed that the season might be donezo. Now, I don't know how you felt, Rich, but I was pretty much like, yeah, we're beat. Because, Purdy's a seventh round pick, last pick in the draft, doesn't have a big arm, very limited. But, I saw some things, and I won't get too much into it. I'll ask you, what was your overall kind of feeling when that whole situation kind of worked, that happened last Sunday when Jimmy, you found out that Jimmy pretty much, like, we found out after the game that
Yeah.
he was done, but we all kind of sensed that he was done already. So what was your overall thinking at that time?
I had a few different thoughts, and I'm gonna keep it 100%, man. I'm gonna keep it real, and I'm gonna just, keep it real. I always try to, and
Absolutely.
and so first, it was kind of like it was a lot different than Trey Lance. It was obvious what happened to Trey Lance. So I mean, at first, it was kind of like maybe I didn't watch for a second or two, but I didn't see him getting helped off the field. I didn't see any of that. All of a sudden, he was on the sideline. I could have swore he was on the bench at first.
That's what I
And
saw
then
too.
and then later on, all of a sudden he's on a cart, and then it was just like, holy crap. And then I initially tweeted like, Lord be with us. Here comes Purdy. I think that's what I had wrote out. And then, ironically enough, I made a video a few days before this game. And, I'm huge on Trey Lance. And look, I just want to let it be clear to anybody, just in case they don't know, whoever suits up for the 49ers, I'm
Yes.
rooting for. I'm
Yes.
rooting for Garoppolo. I'm rooting for Purdy. I'm rooting for Lance just because I have my favorites and this, that, and the other. And I believe what I believe doesn't mean I'm discounting anybody or being against somebody. If I'm for somebody doesn't equal I'm against somebody, it's just I might be for that person more. So I made a video actually trying to hype up the possibility of Trey Lance coming back. And I was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo playing arguably the best football of his life. But then I brought up the offensive line and anything could happen to Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's like 3 days before the game. And I'll admit, hey, you could check the video out. I think I said, can Trey play? It's a picture of Trey, Jimmy, and Shanahan. And that was the title, Can Trey play? And I said toward the end, because if Purdy comes in, you could kiss our season goodbye. And after watching one of his games, I instantly kind of changed that feeling. You know what I'm saying? To me, he proved a lot. He checked a lot of boxes with what he could do with anticipation. He wasn't scared. He wasn't timid. He was balling. There was a lot of great things he did. And then I think even a bigger thing than just what Brock Purdy did, I think it's more about Kyle Shanahan's trust in him as well. You throw the ball 37 times, you're throwing the ball on 3rd and 1. We've seen times where Purdy scrambled to the right. And, we all of us who really pay attention to the details, we've seen the clips of the rusher coming in. He baited him in so he would take a certain angle. He got up out of there, made the pass. There was another time where he did it the opposite way. So he did it to the left. He did it to the right. I mean, they're blitzing him like crazy. He's standing in there like a vet, like a dog, and, delivering, not just throwing the ball away. Like, he's delivering strikes with all this pressure on him with all his first game. They're throwing the house at him, and he succeeded. We won decisively, regardless of the 7 points on defense. I just thought it was, besides taking the injury away from Garoppolo, prayers to Garoppolo, I put that out there too. It was one of the more exciting wins that I can remember in a long time. That was my initial whole feeling of all of it.
My brother's a Dolphins fan, so we were sitting there talking after the game, and he's mad, as he should be. It's his team, the Dolphins, and kept telling him like, man, I'm not knowing how to feel right now. I was kind of always in the same headspace when Trey Lance went down. And I guess a lot of 49er fans saw things a little differently where I was not so sure. And I'm still not so sure about Brock Purdy. I got to see more. I have to see a little bit more of him against a different team, a different defense. I'm like you. People like you. Sometimes you can have an opinion on who you want to start. People automatically consider you not a fan because you're not going with the status quo or what the organization is putting out there. You're not going. You're kind of fighting against it, And everybody has a right to have an opinion. I have the issue with people that were happy that he got hurt, which I think is just ridiculous. Yeah, no. That's really dumb. That's really stupid. You're a trash human being if you wish injury on somebody. As much as Garoppolo makes me want to pull my hair out when I watch him at times, when he got hurt, I was legitimately, one, I felt bad for him, and two, I thought our season is toast, and maybe it still is. We don't know. But I'm cautiously optimistic with Purdy. I want to see more. I see all the things that everybody else is talking about. I see the anticipation throws. I see the ability to move in the pocket. I see accuracy, but I want to see more, a couple games.
Consistency for sure.
Yeah, I want to see this consistency. And one thing I noticed, Rich, I look like Kyle trusts him more than he trusts Jimmy.
Yeah.
37 times thrown with the dude. No offense, he's got kind of a pea shooter for an arm, and he put him out there, and he was legitimately pretty accurate. Other than that one interception that he threw to Ayuk on that sideline throw, and maybe a couple other ones, he was pretty much dead on, and I was pleasantly surprised. But like I said, I'm a hard person to please, so.
Hey, and then even with that interception, it wasn't just a horrible mistake. It was one of the better interceptions you could throw. You know what I'm saying? Yep. 50-50, trust in the receiver, the situation. He seemed pretty freaking bright, man. He seemed like he knew. I mean, we go watch the all 22 and we see him making reads. We see him making the right. And then I also want to let the fans know and anybody that's watching tonight, what's up to all you guys? What's up to the faithful? Real talk. Yeah.
Can I say hi to him real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me say hi to him real quick because I ignored a lot of people when Larry was on yesterday. So we got Brian Culp in the house. I don't know if he's still here. I want to say what's up to Brian. Always super supportive. I see him around all the time now. Raphael 562, another long supporter of the channel, been here since jump. Thank you very much.
Same here.
My Wednesday co-host, my dude, my older brother from another mother, Ted. He's awesome. I'm so glad I got a chance to now work with him on a consistent basis. Ted is a lot like us. He wants to see a little bit more from Purdy. I think he's a little bit of that mindset of people get and he's going to do this, and I think he's going to be the next Joe Montana. It's yo, dude, really?
Hey, Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I will never put him in the same thought of Joe Montana, but I have been having fun with it. I have been learning to have fun with it. I'm on the Purdy hype train, but realistically, like heck yeah, I do need to see more. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I'm having fun with it at the same time. Some people could call that whatever they want to call it, but hey, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, Chris Matson, first of all, thank you for dropping in. He says, we can't forget he's the last person picked in the draft. Yeah, that's what I want to remind everybody. Like, okay, be happy, be encouraged, be optimistic, but also be realistic too. I am considered, and I love my boy Jay in the Bay. Me and Jay are like totally different sides of the personality spectrum when it comes to the Niners.
Yeah.
He's more of the optimistic. I'm more of the pessimistic. But that's what your fans are too. You have fans that are like anything the Niners put out, any type of 49ers video or media, they're all for it. And then there's people like me who watched it a long time. I'm always like, yeah, whatever. We'll see. Only time will tell. You know, I'm a hard to please.
I'm bipolar, bro.
Me too. I know. I've seen you, dude. You've been more on Twitter. Rich has been, and he keeps it clean. He barely ever swears, ever. I need to get like that because I used to not ever swear in my life. But he's like
the
me.
Opposite.
He used to talk. He was very always. You've gotten very outspoken on Twitter this year about the Niners, like good and bad, like negative and positive.
Because that's how I really feel. It's like as much as they shift and change,
Yeah,
it's because I haven't been doing this too long, so I'm transforming. Yep. I never stop evolving. I never stop trying to learn. So I'm trying to wrap my feelings and what I feel mixed with truth, mixed with worst case, best case. I'm looking at it all. I'm like trying to put it all, and sometimes that could come off as contradictory.
Yeah.
Sometimes all right, for example, I put up Jimmy Garoppolo highlights for this year so far. I didn't say anything about it. I didn't say here's good highlights, here's bad highlights. I'll just simply here's Jimmy Garoppolo highlights. And I had a few people unsubscribe, probably thinking, oh, he's been this Trey guy this whole time. Now he's putting highlights of Jimmy. It's like, hey, I'm just putting. And then when I watch the highlights, I learned something. Man, it's more checkdowns than I thought. It's almost like just because I put something out doesn't mean if you want to assume that I'm some kind of way, that's your business because I know what I'm about. And I try to touch on as much as I can, so it could come off some kind of way and people could form their opinion. But hey, man,
I got a little bit of that on Twitter. I don't know. First of all, how you doing, Ryan? And what's up, G9 Garage?
Yee.
What's up, Rinjin? How you guys all doing? Chris Maston, again, thank you for popping through. So I was on Twitter and I posted something saying that I think the media, I think that there's like a double standard when it comes to Trey Lance with how some people, and I meant a certain person who covers the 49ers, I'm not saying who it is and I won't say who it is. They seem to have this kind of, I don't know. They just seem against the Trey Lance whole thing. And I had somebody ask me why I was bringing race into it. And I'm like, bro, I just scanned through my whole comment. Never said anything. Nobody said anything. All I was putting out there was I see a little bit from certain writers who have a predisposed feeling about something. And you don't have to say anything. It comes out in how you, with all the information and all the articles and all the tweets that you put out, you have a consistent theme. Yeah. It comes off. So people could say, oh, that's not the case. I'm like, go read this person's tweets from the beginning of the season till now. Read their articles. You get kind of a vibe. And all I said was, I kind of find it funny that there's, some people like, it's almost like they don't even try to hide it. Somehow I got pulled into a different, I'm like, what are we talking about? And I looked at my tweet. I'm like, I said nothing about that. He was trying to pull me into a conversation, and that's what people do. That's why a lot of times, like I said, I'm pretty, when it comes to certain topics, I stay out of them, even though I have opinions, because I feel like once you kind of put it out there, like you said, people unsubscribe. They don't want to listen to you no more. I try to stay super neutral on certain topics, just because. And I'm the most bipolar fan too, man. I'm all over the map with my emotions. My nephew, one day I got to get him on stream. He said he was buying some some stuff to get on stream with, like microphone, camera, and all this other stuff. My nephew is just as bipolar with the 49ers as me. We are the most negative. It's funny. I don't know what game we were watching before we watched it. And he's like, we're going to lose. And I looked at my nephew and I'm like, you know what? I kind of had the same vibe. And sure enough, we lost. And most people will take that as you don't have faith. And it's just like, you've liked the team for so long. You have kind of you vibe with them. You kind of feel what's going to happen sometimes. And sure enough, that's what happens. So if I ever have him on here, people are going to be like, damn, I thought Aaron was negative. It's just his personality. That's how he feels. He's like you said, being 100%. So.
Hey, we're all different, and that's the beauty in it. The frustrating part is when people try to label your differences as some catastrophic type ordeal or something.
Like it's just world-ending opinion.
It's like, hey man, I'll post certain stuff on Facebook, and I got hundreds and hundreds of comments. And back in the day, I used to just go to war with people if people weren't being halfway decent. Oh man, I spent way too much time, and now I don't try to ignore people, but I got to balance my time. And a lot of the times I'll put something up and I'll just start seeing just one or two, and I won't say nothing about nothing. I will let them just go to town on it. And by the time they think they're going to have me like biting the hook, I'm putting my next thing up. Like I'm going to keep on being me. I'm going to keep on putting up whatever I want to put up. It's it is what it is. It's hey man, I love the game of football. I love the 49ers. And so it brings me joy. It makes me pull my hair out, but it's something I love, man. So I'm gonna just keep doing it and try to ignore it. Try to ignore the noise. Hey, just what it says above the 49ers door. I think it says ignore the noise, be humble, protect the team. I try to be the same way, and with a few other things in there, but man,
I think that's how some people should approach life. Like,
why not
the family? Like, be above the criticism. You got to be able to be strong and not let it get to you. I'm a person who, for a majority of my life, I let criticism get to me. And finally in my 40s, I'm starting not to care no more.
Same here, bro.
It's funny how sometimes, and this is with sports and in life, people love to share their opinion of what they think you need to be doing with your life.
Yeah. And it's like, they want to hear their words coming out of your mouth.
And to me, it's like, if you really can't stand being around me that much, then don't associate with me. I'm 40 some odd years old. I eat what I want. I drink what I want. I have a short time on this planet. So, make the best of it. Like, and in sports, it's the same thing. Like, be honest with the feelings. My issue is when somebody maybe they're a content person and they put a fake persona. They might be really dying inside or be upset about something or really want to speak their mind about the 49ers. But because they have this persona of being this ultra positive individual or ultra negative individual, you never get the real person. Mm-hmm. And I think with me and you, we're like years apart in age. We're both kind of like, some days we're like pro Niners, like we got this. And then we watch a game and we're like, yeah, we're trash, dude. We're not going anywhere this year. That's how I get.
Yeah. Hey, it wasn't too long ago where I had a lot of words about Kyle Shanahan, and
I have too.
And now I feel really good about Shanahan. It's like,
I'm sure that opinion will change again.
it probably will. And I was just driving down the street with my kids, and there was a driver. Something happened with the driver, and I'm getting all mad. And, I'm talking to one of my daughters. And after I get all upset about this driver, I'm kind of preaching to myself, but letting my daughter hear it at the same time. I'm like, man, I need to not let this surprise me no more. There's always going to be that next jerk that's a driver like this. I need to not let it just affect me or get it. It shouldn't surprise me like this. It's always going to be there. Am I always going to react this way toward it? I need, these things are always going to happen. How we react, that's the thing that we can change. So I try to preach to myself. I grew up without a father and whatnot. So I'm learning things later in life, or a positive role model on top of that. So it's like, I kind of grew up, kind of lightweight fathering myself. So I consider myself a late bloomer on figuring certain things out. But, I'm blessed though. I'm blessed. I love the fact that I was able to kind of learn some things for my own, that certain stuff wasn't forced on me and whatnot. So it's it's a tough subject, but I choose to view it as a blessing. You feel me? So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Chris Matson says it's like all the undeserving hate Dion is getting for move to Colorado. We're a nation of hate. Yeah. Me and my brother were talking about that. People hate, man. There is a lot of haters out there in this world, in sports and in life. Some
Period.
people are so miserable. And maybe I was like that. I always tell my nephew, because my nephew's younger than me by about 15 years. He's 27, 28 almost. He goes, "You're kind of a hater." I said, "You know what? I'm not a hater. I'm cynical because I've been around a long time. Um, and yeah, I have certain viewpoints on things. And I've learned because I've gotten into arguments with my nephew about sports, about the 49ers, about the, LeBron versus Jordan. And you
Yeah.
got to get to a point where you got to realize that, like, you're still family with people, you're still friends with people. And an argument's really just an argument. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It doesn't really matter in the scheme of life.
Oh yeah.
And I think some people waste so much time hating and need to take an inward look and worry about their own damn self. I know I have to do that sometimes. I'm critical of others, can be, but I'm very critical of myself. So, but
Same.
let's let's get this back on the field before people are like, "What is happening here?" Um,
Came to
one
watch
thing I
Dr.
wanted
Phil.
to, yeah, we're like a 49er fan slash like
49er
psychologist.
49er therapy.
Look, we
Come
just
on.
people are like, "We're out." So one of the things I wanted to talk about is the run game. You've noticed as well as I've noticed that, after the Elijah Mitchell injury, a lot of us like we're thinking like, man, they're really going to feed Christian McCaffrey way too much, and we really need to get Jordan Mason involved. What is your opinion on that? Would you like to see Jordan Mason become a more involved in the running game? I mean, as a really a carry, like a high carry guy, and let McCaffrey work in space?
Absolutely, absolutely. I said a while back, just a few days ago, which is kind of like a while back for me, but hey, let's see Mason, especially up the middle. Like, let's get Mason the ball up the middle. Like, why would we just continue to keep pounding the ball with CMC up the middle? Let's get CMC in space, you know. But then I got to thinking, hey, if we're gonna always just run a Jordan Mason up the middle, that can become predictable.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of answering my own question on that one. But I think there's a way to mix it up. I was talking to another guy the other day and said, "Hey, let's get both of them on the field at the same time." And I think that's another great idea, because then you never know. Because then it could, and just switch it up. I definitely feel like Mason should see, just for the health, especially those runs up the middle, man. However you got to disguise it, however you got to scheme it up, I would definitely like to see Mason get the ball going up the middle for sure. And he's just a dog, man. He just looks like he's built for it. He loves it. He doesn't shy away from contact. And then on top of it, it feels like any kind of moves he makes, just looking back on Trey Sermon and whatnot, like all his moves are purposeful and not just like kind of tiptoeing and guessing and hesitant. It's like the shifts that he makes are purposeful, and make a difference. He's shifting the right way. He's getting through the right crease. He's moving forward in his shifts. Just I've seen it ever since preseason. So I would love to see more of Mason. I think game to game, defense to defense, it's just gonna continue to always be shifting. I feel like whatever Kyle has did one game, we might see the opposite the next. I feel like I figured out part of Kyle's philosophy, and part of it is not figuring it out.
yep,
He's gonna make sure, because we're always like, man, it's been 6 years. How come there isn't a firm foundation? Because he's always evolving, he's always shifting, he's always growing. He never wants nobody to catch on what he's doing. We dissect him more than anybody, people who are really just dove into it to the fullest, and nobody could figure it out because that's his philosophy. He doesn't want to be figured out. He always wants to switch it up. Anything we want, he probably ain't going to do. He's going to throw monkey wrenches and curveballs and change ups. And, that's him. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I would love to see, What David Villa said, just I agree. No more CMC up the middle, or at least just switch it up. But he did in the game versus uh the Dolphins, because I put a tweet out, oh my God, we're running up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. And then all of a sudden, the second half, he starts throwing in some sweeps. He starts
Yeah, we
putting
had that cutback run where he kind of partially sealed the game. We got a field goal out of it, but that was a beautiful. If he was a little faster, that would have been a touchdown.
Oh yeah. And
He's just a little slow.
I watched it a few times and beautiful play, capped it off, counter play. And I watched it a few times and there was a moment where I was like, dang it, CMC, I wish you would have took it back inside. Like once you had that initial once you had the initial just lane, I feel like if he would have cut it back in, he might have took it, but then he just stayed outside. But when the game is happening 100 miles per hour, it's hard to, you're playing with so much adrenaline, and half of the time, well, when I used to play football, half of the time I was blacked out. Whenever I would be in that kind of a mode of, oh my God, I'm in open field, like it's like everything kind of goes in slow motion.
Like how Jeff Wilson Jr. was, where he said he played in like a mental state of darkness.
Yeah.
He was like,
oh man, it's like half of it was blacked out and half of it was slow motion, but it was, oh my God, it's a beautiful feeling. I want to play right now just talking about it, but
man, I miss playing backyard ball back in the day, throwing the ball around. Yep. We used to play during like the summers, especially. We would play like 3 games in a day, pickup games, same dudes. We'd swap teams. I would always be quarterback because I was always tall. And sometimes other team would want me to be their quarterback because they ain't never played with me. And some of my friends would get pissed and they try to take cheap shots when they were tackling me. But we were kids, man. Like, and a couple of my friends growing up were super competitive. I was super competitive too. I hated losing. What I realized though, real quickly, is I wasn't super athletic. Like if I would have been a quarterback, I would have been like Tom Brady. I would have been stiff, immobile, and had to throw from the pocket. No speed running, straight as a board when I play. I had a decent, like I could, you know what I mean? Like we make fun of him, but I told my brother, I was like, watching Brady, it's like watching me play. Like McCaffrey as a receiver, Ed McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He wasn't really agile. He was a stiff white dude who made catches and then got blasted over the middle. I look at him and I was like, that's probably how my career would have been. I would have took a lot of shots because I couldn't run away from nobody. But yeah, I miss those days too for different reasons. As far as the run game or as far as the offense, I think Kyle Shanahan, we say 6 years and he still doesn't have a philosophy. I think his philosophy changes from game to game depending on the opponent. I really don't think quarter to quarter. Yeah, like series to series. Like when I watch Kyle, you never seem to be able to figure out what exactly his brain is thinking. I know when he gets in his bag, like if we're kicking someone's butt, and we're running down their throat, Kyle has that look of just absolute, like, I have you. I'm going to crush your spirits and run all over you. And I freaking love that about him. It's also what gets him in trouble, too. He has a little bit of that cocky arrogance, that little laugh he does when he gets in the press conference. It's like, oh, man, I hate that. I want to hit him. But, yeah, I completely understand. Like, yeah, you're right. Game to game, play to play, series to series, quarter to quarter, he seems to always be trying to figure out the opponent. There's never like a one set way of running the offense because we were coming out early in the season. We were throwing a lot these last couple games before Jimmy got hurt. Like, when the hell did we start throwing that many times in a game? So that was interesting. But now that Purdy is in there, let's see what we become. I hope the running game gets more multiple in its looks and it's not so predictable. Somebody in the comment, I think it was Raphael 562. He says, "Will TDP get any touches?" That's a good question, man. I would assume if the game's out of reach and we can ice it. But then again, Kyle doesn't like going to people he doesn't trust, so probably not. So unless there's an injury, I don't think so.
Same.
I don't think so. Not yet. Maybe next year.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to talk about too is what's been your opinion of the offensive line? I had Larry on yesterday and he's his sentiments were kind of like mine. The people that he thought were going to play bad have played good, and the people that you think that were going to be decent have kind of struggled. Trend it sometimes. McGlinchey, the interior. What's your whole take? And do you think they need to get a little bit better so they don't get another quarterback killed?
Yeah, man, I had this. It's kind of funny. What up, LJ?
What's up, Lawrence?
Yee! What up, Lawrence? How you doing, my man? Um, Man, I keep thinking of McGlitchy just because I made this thing on TikTok, and out of all the things I've ever created, I have this one TikTok that I guess lightweight went viral or something, but it hit out of everything I've ever made, man. I get a few thousand views, on TikTok, making some of my stuff, but this one hit like 200,000. I was like, what the heck? This little 7-second clip I made, just where I put McGlitchy on there. I think it's the Saints game where he kind of swim moved a dude into Jimmy. And I just put, come on, man, and just put a little womp, womp, womp. And which way did he go, George? Which way did he go? I made it kind of funny, quick little thing. But I feel like the guys who, in the off season, I was kind of high up, like on any underdogs. I was like Hufanga. There were talks about Greenlaw, just a lot of guys that people were on. Banks, what is Banks going to be? Brendel, he's never had no time. Burford was actually getting a little bit of praise. Like, hey, he looks like he could be a monster. Brungskill and whatnot. But hey, man, these guys have done well for who they are. Like, I look at it like Banks, he's kind of like a rookie, and he's done extremely well. Brendel, lightweight, he's like a veteran and a rookie kind of, it's almost like we have 3 rookies right there in the middle, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think a lot of times some of these guys are judged like we need them to be a vet today. We need them to be at least a solid C+, B- vet today. It's like, we got to remember some of these guys are just getting their feet wet, man. They've never faced some of these grown 30-year-old men, that's been playing, that know these little details, that know all the little intricates. And, these guys have been doing this for years. So I feel like it's props to them all. And one positive I will say about McGlitchy is, you know what? This man had his whole thigh ripped off of his bone, and he's been able to stay on the field the whole entire freaking year. Yeah, he has his extreme lowlights. Which way did you go, George? He has those moments. God, I wish he didn't have those moments, man, because it's like I see so many of them too, though. But it's just, he has some extreme lowlights, and Trent looks like he's just being Trent. It looks like, he's always, even on his down days, he's still pretty dang good. But I was questioning on 3rd and 1 when we do not run up the middle. Is there a little trust when it comes to Shanahan? It feels like there's a lot of times where we're instilling shotgun on 3rd and 1. Is that because we don't want to be predictable, or could that be a lack of trust in the push we're getting in that middle?
Could be a lot of things.
So that is one thing I was thinking about in the middle of our offensive line. But I think they've done well, man.
I thought they played pretty well at times. I think the thing with me and McGlinchey, a lot of people will post, a bunch of film of him and say like, hey, he only had, 6 bad snaps. But to me, it's when the snaps happen and how freaking game wrecking they can be.
Yeah.
And, I get really annoyed when people have to, because they have a little bit more knowledge or they have access to coach tape, they have to make sure that they let the piss on like me, who just talks 49ers, is not a coach or whatever, know that I'm so wrong and they're so right and McGlinchey's fine and there's no problem. And it's like, bro, I watch with my eyes. I don't watch with analytics. I don't watch with the coach's tape. I'm much watching games based on momentum when mistakes happen, how those mistakes affect a drive and kill it, whether it's a false start, a hold, a missed block that gets a quarterback crushed. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that those things are game wrecking, and you don't need to say, well, I watched the film and he only really had 2 bad plays. Well, how bad did those 2 plays affect the outcome of the game? So talked to Larry yesterday. He doesn't think that he's going to return this year. I asked him, I was like, what's up with all this kissing his butt with John Lynch talking about how he's played so great. I'm thinking that's got to be coach talk, because there's no way we're watching the same McGlinchey. But he's been pretty bad. He's been okay at times. He's had some good reps. I've seen games where he had good pass protection, but overall, when he's gone, I will not miss him. At least the person, he might be a great guy. And then Trent Williams has been pretty good this year. He's had some rough spots. That game that Jimmy got hurt, he's the one that actually missed the block that allowed that dude to get all over Jimmy. Interior wise, Brendel's been okay. I don't think he's been great. He hasn't been just so horribly bad that it's affected the Niners in such an adverse way. And I think the Burford / I'm trying to think of the name of the guy that he's been rotating with, Brunskill. That's been a pretty good combination. And I do like the way Aaron Banks has been playing. I said last year, Aaron Banks, all he needed was to get in a weight room.
Yep.
Have another year in the system, have another year of training camp, off season. And I'm not trying to say that I know more than anybody else, but I was right. Like, he looks better this year than he did last year. And hopefully it continues to get better. As far as your questions about why they don't run up the middle with certain guys, who knows? That is crazy. They rather use their quarterbacks on a 3rd and 1 than use an offensive player like a running back or a fullback. And that's one thing that always shocks me, especially with the injuries we have at quarterback. Like, why are you using quarterback on dive plays, man?
Yeah, and you don't even necessarily, like, I feel like because maybe they're afraid it becomes predictable. It's like you could still hit a different gap when you're going up the middle, or you could do it. There's ways you could get creative by doing it. But hey, man, as long as we're getting first downs. One part I did want to touch on.
Sure.
I don't want there to be injuries, but I've had a feeling all year long. Maybe we're going to see McGlinchey through as long as the season lets him go. And I'm curious to see what the O-line looks with Burford and Brunskill on that right side. I would just like to see a full game of a Burford and Brunskill, put Brunskill out on that tackle. I just want to see a game or two to see if it makes a difference. Like, I remember last year we did pretty dang well with Compton, McKivitz, and Brunskill all shifting on that right side. And that's part of when we went on the 7-2 run. It was when those 3 guys were over there, and of course the whole entire defensive line just all thrived. So games won and lost in the trenches, and of course with the quarterback. But yeah, I'm curious to see if at some point in time it's going to be Brunskill and Burford over there.
I wanted to ask you about where are we here? I gotta go down my list here. Just all the thoughts on the whole situation regarding Jimmy, his return, Lance, his return, and the Mayfield situation that the Niners didn't end up they didn't put a waiver claim on him because it didn't get to them. Let's talk Garoppolo first. Do you have any faith that he'll be back? Maybe for a deep playoff run. I'm talking like NFC Championship game or Super Bowl, because they make it sound like it could be a possibility, but it's not something they're banking on.
It's crazy to me how it feels like there's zero possibility with Trey, and all of a sudden there's a possibility with Jimmy. It's just like, man, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna keep it 100. Hey, Jimmy Garoppolo, you have been an absolute pro. There's a large part of the fans that love you. Me personally, and the locker room loves you. You've been a pro. You've handled it professional. All these things. You have not done, from what I know, anything really wrong. You know what I'm saying? But from a football fan, looking at it from just a football fan aspect, I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of talking about it. I think that's why a lot of people are clinging on to Purdy as hard as they are, because it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, you know what? At least, hey, Purdy came in and rocked it for one game. It's like, and on top of it, it's almost a breath of fresh air. That's how I kind of see it with Garoppolo. I'm just personally tired of even seeing it and tired of hearing it. And it's not even, I heard someone mention it in a way. It's not even, at first, it was like, man, I'm tired of seeing the quarterback production of Garoppolo when I first came into this a couple years back. And even year or two before that, I got ignited enough because I got tired of seeing the quarterback production. I could even take Garoppolo's name out of it. And now it's starting to turn a little bit more exhausting because of some of his super fans. You know, we've heard it, and once you get to talking to some of those bozos, it's ridiculous. And I know that they try to say the same about some of the Trey Lance fans, but it's like this Trey and Jimmy and this, and it's just like, man, I don't care. Whoever's suiting up, I'm a root for him. But at the same time, it feels like there has been this cloud surrounding that beautiful smile of Jimmy, and I'm tired of it. To be honest, like I hope he's not back just for the health, the mental health of freaking fans of I know they say he's amazing in the locker room, but I don't even think they understand the toxicness that probably surrounds the community. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe they are like, hey, the drama brings revenue. All is well. Who knows? But you know, it is what it is. You know I kind of just said a lot, but that's just how I truly feel about it. I don't got no hate toward anybody, but it is exhausting. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, my whole thing with the Garoppolo thing with some of these fans, and I got into it with a female fan. She was saying something about hate and this and that. I'm like, listen, I said, I tweeted her, I said, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would you care this much if he was ugly? That's what I tweeted her.
Yeah.
Never responded.
Nothing.
Never responded. Is it about the football or is it about how he looks? With the guy fans, it's all about, and I'm not saying lady fans can't be 49er fans, so please don't hate me. I'm just saying that's some of the stuff that you deal with on social media that I don't even, that's all I asked her. And it's the silliness of like, oh, that chin, I miss it so much. I'm so glad he's back. It's like, we're trying to win a championship here, man. I don't care how the quarterback be the ugliest dude in the world. I don't care. Like you said, it's about production. Like this franchise has this tradition of like great quarterbacks. And then we've had these like mediocre, like Joe Montana. We've had these mediocre like quarterbacks over the last, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years. And people are like so satisfied with it. It's like, don't you see what's going on in the league with all these great quarterbacks like Mahomes and Josh Allen and Burrow? And I'm trying to think of another young quarterback that's not coming in. Those
Herbert.
Yeah, like
it's exactly
hello,
this is
that's what we want.
It's exactly why I started my YouTube channel. Everything you're saying right now, man, was like enough was enough. I wasn't on, man. I literally had a Facebook and used it to put up family stuff and sometimes 49er stuff. But I'm listening to the radio religiously. I mean, I'm watching everything I got. I didn't know it was all over the internet like this because I stayed away from it, because I do get super passionate. And before I could articulate some of my words, I'm still not the best speaker. I'm still not the best writer. But before I could articulate as good as I can now, I'd be quick to show love, but then I'd also be quick to send someone my address and say, hey, come get some then. So I just wasn't ready to even be on social. You know what I'm saying? But once I seen us miss on Mahomes, miss on Brady, miss on Aaron Rodgers, miss on all these guys, it's like, all right, enough is enough. Oh crap, there's Facebook groups. This is dope. Meet a few people. Oh, I can hop on a live show. Okay. I'm kind of nervous and scared, but let me give this thing a shot. And it just kind of took life on its own. Now I get man. Now I get to chop it up with you, bro, all the way from New York, and it's pretty freaking cool and dope.
It's funny. I have a Big City Man made a good point. He's like, James is so predictable. It's boring to watch. The Niners offense in general, when Jimmy's in charge,
stressful,
is super predictable. It's like it doesn't evolve. It never takes that next level where we become a juggernaut and teams hate facing us. Like with Kansas City, I fear every time we play them. When we played them this year, I'm like, we can't score field goals. And what do? We come out with the same basic ass, same offense with Jimmy, no urgency, no creativity, limited. And it's frustrating, man, because you see what a real offense looks like.
Yeah, man. It's like, hold on.
With the defense we have, we never lose a game.
Man, hold on. It's like, is this the 49ers legacy? This is what we're doing?
That's
Like
what.
Jimmy,
That's where
man,
I've
man,
tweeted that so many times. Is this what we're accepting now?
it's like he could lose the Super Bowl. They go kick it with freaking Little Wayne. We come close in the
At
NFC
least we got
Championship.
there.
Hey, look, but on top of it, I was hella proud of last year's team.
So
Eh,
was I.
I was
So was I.
so proud of their fight, the way they did it, all of it. Hella proud, but hell yeah, it was heartbreaking, the way it all went down. But it's like, I wouldn't feel this way about it. But it's like when Jimmy Garoppolo came to training camp this year, they're freaking over there like he's Joe Montana. Like, what is this man? Like, what is I get it if you like, I don't know. It's just there is something weird about it, man. There's so many layers to the game, 49er minded. There's
He
so many freaking layers,
listen. We
man.
love when you say that. You have the most articulate way. Where he's like, we've talked about that before. We have so
Hey,
many layers.
you know what's funny about it is
Mm.
every time I say it, I kind of think about Shrek. I kind of
Oh
think
my
when he's
god.
talking about the freaking onion. Like,
Oh my god. Me and Bashar were just talking about you the other day.
that's
In a
funny.
positive way when you say that it has so many layers. You have such a the way you speak. It's laugh inducing, but in a good way.
I
You
love
make
it.
us
Hey,
makes us smile.
I love it if people laugh at me. I am one of those guys. I like to make fun of myself. I'm still, dude.
You have a very unique way of talking,
I'm
and
still
I love it.
trying to get used to this thing. I'm not even gonna. I'm still not fully comfortable in this thing, but I'm
I'm
getting
not
there.
either. I'm not
I,
either, dude. I took a break from YouTube, man. I had to go back to a live stream. I've gotten a little bit better, but like get nervous before a stream, or like you have a guest on and maybe they're not like how you talk to somebody before you go live. You guys will know who stream. You can get a pretty good idea if it's going to be a bad stream or a good stream just based on the 5 minutes, 10 minutes you might talk off stream before. When I had Shasky on, I literally talked to him for 2 minutes. I'm like, this is going to be I didn't get a ton of views, at least on YouTube from it, but the experience
like, who
was
cares?
awesome. He was
But
so easy. Like all I would do is just put the bait out there and he would take it.
it's
So,
easy.
then there's times where
Sunday
you really
morning.
got to work to get someone to answer you. You know what I mean?
Who is that? Easy like Sunday morning. Who is? I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
You
forget
got
who sings that song, but I know what song you're talking about.
not Lionel Richie. It could be. I don't know. Easy like Sunday morning. Come on.
He was definitely easy like Sunday morning. Yeah, he was
Like it.
good.
Love it.
And there's people that entertain
Smokey
themselves.
Smokey Robinson. I think it was. Could
I'll
be.
take your word for it. I feel, Ted says he feels attacked. Ted, I love you, man.
I gotta check.
Ted has two different personas. He's got the Twitter persona who's a badass and
Uh-oh.
gets into it and takes receipts. And then he's got his low-key YouTube personality. I told him you got to somehow mix the two together, not become like abrasive or confrontational, but because you talk to him, they're like, and then you see him on Twitter and he's just like going at it with people, being relentless. And I'm like, where is that? Like, I want to see that. So no, you're not being attacked. You're a good dude. You're a good egg.
Yeah, I got to check you out more, TED Talks. I've watched a little bit, but I am subbed, just to let you know. I did hit you up, my man.
Me and Ted, it's been a very, very pleasurable experience to have the back and forth. Get to not always stream on my channel sometimes and just have the topics and relax. That's kind of nice. Sometimes it's a little bit nice to not have to worry about coming up with topics, overlays, this, that, the other, and just go on someone's stream and just answer questions.
Just
Not
two
that
dudes.
it's bad. It's not a bad thing, but it's cool to sometimes chill. What about the Baker Mayfield part of it? There were some people, but they're like losing, peeing in their pajamas. They're like all about the whole thing. All I ever said was this: if he comes in as a backup but never plays, I'd be okay, just for insurance to have someone who's actually played in the NFL.
Yeah.
Nothing else, nothing more. Some people were like, "Yeah, we need to bring him in." Woo! And it's like, no, he's bad. He's not good, and he's a locker room cancer. What was your take?
I don't care what he did versus I did make a point. All right, we did the show Last Man Standing on Niner Beddos, and I picked the Rams. I think I was the only one that picked the Rams versus the Raiders. Um, and one of my main points was because of Baker Mayfield. Like I could see Baker Mayfield coming in for a game or two and doing well and getting people hyped. But I didn't want him from the get go. Like when you have a Super Bowl caliber team, you don't need no big persona. You don't need a OBJ. You don't need a Baker Mayfield. I'm trying to think of an example of a player. You just need that quiet, good professional. He could be a dog, but you want, like, I feel like on a Super Bowl type team, unless it's like Deion Sanders or Prime Time or something, I mean, that's a different story. He's going to come in and he's going to absolutely contribute, but just looking at Baker Mayfield, I didn't like it. My first thoughts was Nick Bosa flag planting on him, just from a business standpoint, I get it. You want someone there, but like me personally, God, man, I'd be trying to hit at Fitzpatrick or
Right.
I
was
know
telling my brother that I was like, man, I want Fitz.
Yeah, yeah. Just someone who is a true pro, not no one who's gonna, bring even the slightest controversy. You know what I'm saying? The slightest bit of negativity. He's better at commercials than playing quarterback. Yeah, man. He might have had a nice drive, but Nick Mullins has had a nice drive. Tim Rattay has had a nice drive. I'm sure Jim Druckenmiller had a nice drive one time, one game way back in the day. So
Jim Druckenmiller. They had a chance to Jake Plummer.
Jake Plummer.
I love Jake Plummer.
Rex Grossman had a couple of good drives, but it's me personally, I don't like it, man. I don't like anybody that's gonna, we got a whole bunch of dogs on this team, and I feel like if he would have came here and he could have instantly like just been in the doghouse. Like, could you imagine like with Kyle Shanahan, the way he is with rookies about being on their phones or just certain things? There's certain things that he gets.
All I could think of was when Pun got up, or not Big Pun, when what's his name, Suge Knight got up on the pen, and he's talking about being all up in the videos, and all I could think of is him and Kyle Shanahan or other players talking about like, that's we got this quarterback that's all up in the videos and then the commercials. That's the first thought that I got, like straight up. Yeah.
We don't need no Puff Daddy. We don't need no Puff Daddies. We don't need no
videos.
We don't need no P Diddies, no Puff Daddies. We need soldiers. We need, Snoop Dogs and Tupacs on our freaking team. We need some real ones, and that's what we got, man.
We need real men, not people that get help. And it's like they have all these commercials and they got their pretty wife, and I'm like, man, if you were just an average dude without money, would you even be in this commercial that I'm watching right now? No, you would not be. Same thing about the chin with Jimmy.
Yeah.
When I asked the question, would you even be talking to me about this if he was ugly? No. So I rest my case. One thing Ted's right about, though, he says, I did want him, even though I don't like him. I like winning and Josh Johnson idea. That's the point. But I don't like him either. But as far as the best of what's out there, and my brother's like, I don't believe he was the best quarterback out there. I'm like, based on the market, he is. I know he sucks, and I know he's a cancer, but that was kind of the only, and I said it would only be an emergency. Only an emergency.
Sometimes those intangibles are, how do I say it? Sometimes those intangibles are more catastrophic than what is on paper on what he could possibly do. Like, it's hard to really explain. Sometimes the unknown stats, like for example, like Eric Armstead, he got no stats in the game versus the Dolphins. But I guarantee you it was Nick Bosa's best game of the year.
Yeah.
And he was commanding double teams. Sorry, he didn't get any he didn't get any of the stats, but I feel like there's just hidden intangibles that you can never detect or never trace, to where it could be even just his vibe. That little cancerous vibe could outweigh anything that he could possibly do for. Hey, and Josh Johnson, the last time he had a few opportunities, I think he's might have played better than slap his looks. Slap.
Lawrence does
um,
not like Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm just gonna put it out there.
oh yeah. I'm knowing he's you know
He's
um
another real one, Lawrence.
full,
That's what I like about him.
full throttle. Yee! He always tries to do the yee, and he asks me, "Hey, did I do that right?" And I'm always. I think the last time I said, "Hey, you got to throw a couple more e's on the end, and you got it." You know, so props to Lawrence. Real talk.
He says not at all. He ain't even playing.
Nah,
Oh boy.
no joke.
No,
Yeah,
no. What is it? No cap. Is that the new saying?
no cap. When you ain't lying. Hey, I'd have learned that one too.
I
I've
try to
learned
tell
so
my brother
much.
about drip, as I was telling him, like, sometimes I like to go on stream with new hats because I like my drip. And he's like, don't ever say that. I'm like, why? He's like, you're way too old to say drip. And I'm like, why? It's lingo. He's like, you're really talking lingo at your age. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of lame. But, for any of us who stream and have I got my big ugly head on the freaking screen, I figure I fill half of it up with, a nice hat. There is one I want to buy. I got to get it. But yeah, the no cap thing is always like, what?
Yeah, my forehead keeps getting bigger, man. My kids make fun of me, man. They said, "Dad, man, what happened to you?"
I have what's called a five head.
Yeah, that's what my kids say. Dad, what
Oh,
happened to your five
you're
head?
going for the quarterback of the Raiders look right now.
Oh yeah, my hairline keeps going further back, man.
At least you're a
It is.
handsome guy. You got that for you.
I appreciate it, man.
And I mean that. I mean that
that's.
in as heterosexual as I can be.
I was just gonna say that's what she said. No, but
right. As
I'm messing with you.
heterosexual I can be. I'm just got to give a man his prop if he's doing all right for himself. He's like, bro, I have no hairline. Yeah, but you can pull that off. Some of us can't pull that off.
Oh no,
For
some
instance,
of us cannot.
me with the big nose and the full face, and I'm just a bigger guy. Me with a bald head, bad, really bad. Some
Same
people
here.
are handsome enough, or they got a nice, smooth, round head. Like Michael Jordan had the perfect. Michael Jordan looked better without hair. Stone Cold Steve Austin looked better without hair.
You know what
Some
it is for
people,
me? If I shave my face, bro, it is man, I don't wanna I always get worried about offending YouTube or something, but if I shave my facial hair, I lightweight look like a serial killer. It's not like some people can do it. Some people it is not good. It is a complete freaking difference. And man, I scared the crap out of my kids one time. They were like, "Dad, never again, ever."
I asked my brother and my nephew. I was like, "What do you think? Grow a mustache like dad?" And then I thought about it. I'm like, man, I would look really creepy with a mustache, like super creepy. I can't say the word. It starts with a P, ends with an O, has a D in the middle. It just keep it the way it is. I've grown the red mutton chops down to like right here. My dad used to love if I grew facial hair, but like most people that I know are like, yeah, get rid of that mess. It looks nasty. My sister's always telling me to shave it all the time. She said I look unkept. So some people can get away with it. Like my nephew's got a full beard. He's got dreads, but he's a good looking kid and he can get away with it. I do the same thing. I look like I'm homeless. So it just all depends, I guess. Some of us have really good genetics, some of us not so much. Let's go to the how are you on time?
I'm all good, man.
All right,
Hey,
cool.
We're rolling.
We've been going for a bit. Well, hold on. Let me go back. So let's go to the defense. There was a lot of talk early in the season that everyone was calling us elite.
Mm-hmm.
And then the injury to Mosley happened. And then the injury to Verrett happened. And guys started missing games. Then we played Kansas City and the sky fell. That was bad. We looked really bad. My question to you is, what's your realistic feeling about this defense? I think they're really good. I don't consider them like the 85 Bears or the Ravens or, the Steel Curtain. I think they're a good defense, but they're definitely gettable in certain ways, and they can be had if teams are good at certain things and the Niners don't get pressure. So what's your overall kind of a assessment?
The more and more I've been thinking about that Kansas City game, the more and more I thought about the Cardinals game versus Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
I think the Kansas City Chiefs caught us at the right time. And I think the games were almost similar. It feels like we have that one game a year. I don't care if it's Colt McCoy, Trent Dilford, or Pat Mahomes, where we just kind of have that big hiccup. And so the more I keep thinking about the Kansas City game, I think too much stock gets put on that one game. I think there was a certain point in time where it was a one-score game in the third quarter, and then they took off. You know, it was pretty freaking close. Like, yes, did they just hammer us? Absolutely, they did. I'm not taking away none of those facts. I just think it was more about timing. Um, we're getting more healthy. I think if we stay healthy, you know, part of me does feel like, oh, no way. The 85 Bears still curtain, you know, purple people eaters, you know, just thinking about some of these all time D's. I'm like, no way. But then part of me is like, hey, if we stay healthy and we stay on this trajectory, hey, we absolutely can be an all time defense. I feel like I don't want to ever say that until we win a Super Bowl. Then it's like, hey, for sure. They were one of the hey, man, that was one of the greatest ones right there. And I know that's way down the road, but I think they definitely can be an all time defense if they stay healthy. Because I feel like they're going to fight. And we got so many dogs, man. It's like you just look at Bosa, Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Ufunga, Jimmy Ward. It's not like we have like one or two dogs on the team. It feels like, and this I haven't even said Samson Ibukum or you know, Drake Jackson's got the most freaking batted balls down. It's like it feels like, man, Aziz. I haven't even talked about Aziz or shoot Mooney Ward. I mean, if it
Yeah.
feels like if hey man, I feel like it can be that they just got to finish strong, finish healthy, hot, and hungry, and
They need to be
just
humbled every once in a while to keep them
yeah,
motivated, because sometimes I think they get in these games where they dominate somebody and then they come out the next game and they almost are like still like kind of living on that high from the previous game, and then the next game happens, they get kicked around a little bit, and then they wake up. Bashar
yeah,
made a good point though. 85 Bears and Ravens got way more sacks. We don't have a ton of sacks other than Bosa.
yeah.
That's the one thing about our defensive line. I would love to see other people get to the quarterback. Now, I think if we would have had everybody healthy on the line, I think we would have had more sacks. We've
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
lot of Bosa and Bosa and second line
Hey,
guys out there.
we just seen the first. Was this the first game of Eric Armstead?
Yeah,
More
first
sacks are
game,
coming. Look, it's his first
dude. He
game, and
played. He was so important to this game.
yes,
Uh, Larry
it's
Kruger
coming. It's
talks about
coming,
how good
Bashar.
he is as a run defender. He's a really good run defender for a guy who's 6'7". You know what I mean? So, uh, somebody made a good point in the comments. They said it doesn't matter what the weather's going to be. Tom Brady's going to throw regardless. Let's talk about Bosa for a minute. And we'll keep it. We'll get it back on the defense. But what's your opinion on if he should play if he's having some issues with the hamstring? Would you rather have him sit and play Thursday, or would you rather have him play Sunday and maybe hold him out Thursday?
Shoot, it just all really depends. Hey, maybe that's why they're bringing up question. Maybe he's getting his rest now, so he can play both. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is
True.
just because I put up a little thing on Twitter. Hey, you know, kind of preaching to the fans, lightweight, like, hey, expect to hear a lot of these things happening. Expect to hear a lot of, you know, growings or this or shoulder because it's coming to the later weeks of the year.
Yep.
We want to keep these guys healthy. So you might see the wink, wink hamstring when really it's rest. And we're trying to keep our guys fresh for game time, especially a Bosa type. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he could hop off the couch in the middle of freaking June and probably, you know, wreak havoc. So
Randy Daytona says turf game on Thursday, hamstring, ouchie.
uh-oh.
Totally agree about that one. I totally agree about that one. We're not
God,
good.
man.
We don't. Turf don't like us.
We're in
At
Seattle.
all.
We're going up to Seattle, right? Is that where it
Yeah.
is?
Well,
Oh
here's the
man.
thing.
I can't freaking wait, man.
I want to say thank you to Jack for the $2 super. He says, what I worry
Yee.
about is Brady is his fast release. Absolutely. Well, Brady's fast release is kind of like the sky is blue and the sun and the ocean. Like it's there. It's something we have we just got to learn not to hit them late, because we have a propensity with our defensive line to whack quarterbacks after they get rid of the ball. Yeah, we need to chill out, because the refs are going to be all up in Brady's butt, making sure that he stays clean in that game. So if it happens, make sure it's legal, it's clean. Don't sling them down. Don't do nothing. Just wrap them up, Bosa, and sit down with them, and, like, I don't know, whatever you got to do, because You know how the refs, they love Brady. I'm a Jordan fan from the Bulls from the 90s. Jordan never got fouls called on him. He was never fouled out. People could say, the refs don't favor players. Yes, they do.
Oh
I don't
yeah, they
care who
do.
you are.
Except for
Yes, they
Steph
do.
Curry. Except for Steph Curry. That might be the one star
Because
where they're just
he's like a human cheat code, though.
yeah.
You have to have a way. You need to stop. You got to stop him somehow. That man can make 3-pointers from the parking lot. He made him he was making full court ones. People are saying it was staged, and he was like, nah, that's real. I thought it was fake too, but
I think he said something like he made a couple of them or something. I think he did come back and say something along those lines, but still, man, hey, just the thought of him being able to do that, it just shows his greatness. I know this is off topic. I'll get to it quick, but he is
fine.
the ultimate. Like, because and I'm not comparing him to Purdy, but I look at Purdy's stature. Like a lot of people say he has a super weak arm. It's like for his stature, I feel like he's got a very strong arm. I mean, it's hard for me to compare Purdy's arm to a guy that's 6'4" or 6'5". Of course, Trey Lance is gonna freaking, I mean, lightning the ball up in there. Of course, Brady can do it. He's 6'5". It's like Purdy, and not only is he shorter, like Womack is short, but he got long arms. You know, Purdy is short, and I don't know the measurements, but it looks like he has shorter arms on top of it. So, but for it coming off of his hand, you know, it's like, hey, man, I see zip there. I see spiral zip. And, you know, of course it's going to be downgraded. That's, you know, he's a smaller dude. But yeah, the point I was
Beto's a Lakers fan.
is nobody wants to hear about no damn Warriors. Let's get back to Niners, LO. All right, Beto, I hear you. No, mommies.
Keep going.
Now, Curry, I feel like, man, it's that just true kind of David and Goliath type of a dude. I feel like it's even greater of what Steph has done because he doesn't have dunking highlights. You don't see him slamming the ball like Dominique Wilkins or, you know, Michael Jordan. And I think that makes it even greater. Like, this man has been able to accomplish what he's been able to accomplish at 6'1". And, you know, even Spud Webb at 5'7" could do 360 dunks. And, you know, Curry, you know, he's just a magician.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize how good he is, his Houdini like passes. Like, if he took a whole game and did nothing but pass the ball, he could be you know, Jason Kidd and John Stockton, and he's every great point guard ever wrapped up into one right there. And his game is unlimited. His work ethic is dope. The man he is off the court, it's just remarkable. Real talk.
Yeah, and as far as Purdy being a small guy, I mean, you listen to him talk. He has he's got a lot of angst against people that have doubted him. So he's highly motivated. You know, I had a friend growing up who was a small guy. He was only about 5'5". But he was tougher than me. He played high school football. He played like kick returner, got smashed, separated his shoulder. I mean, he would get into fights with people that were bigger than him and kick their behind. And it was just like, size. I mean, it does matter in sports to an extent. It matters in UFC. I mean, you can't have a lightweight facing a heavyweight. It just doesn't work. If I punch somebody that's 150 pounds less than me, I'm going to hurt him. You know what I mean? But in a lot of times in sports, certain sports, it really does. Heart and determination and competitive fire has a lot to do. I mean, look at Drew Brees. He didn't have a huge arm.
Love for
Drew Brees.
Love for the game, you know.
Yeah.
But I think when you love the game more than everything else, it's going to wrap in the work ethic, the desire, everything else is going to come with it. I was just talking about that a little while ago. You know, the greatest of the greats, man, they absolutely love the game, and on those off days, they were still they become obsessed with getting better. Jerry Rice types, Steph Curry types, Joe Montana, Tom Brady. You know, all those guys were obsessed, you know what I'm saying, on just continuing to evolve and couldn't stop if they wanted to. So
we've had trouble with the small quarterbacks. We had to deal with Russell Wilson for years, up until recently, Kyler Murray. If you're an athlete and you have some sort of athletic ability and you study film and you are a student of the game, I could be 6'4" with a huge arm, but if I can't read a defense, what good am I? You
Jamarcus
could,
Russell.
yeah, big dude. I mean, he loved to eat. He's a big fat guy.
On his knees could throw it 60 yards or whatever, you
That's
know?
so dumb. But he didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't care.
Meanwhile, Joe Montana's throwing the ball, 49 miles per hour. I'll just throw
Joe
that
Montana
one in there.
didn't have a very big arm. He was a skinny guy.
Yeah.
But I'd take him over Dan Marino and clutch every single time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if you can throw 80 yards.
You see John Candy over there? You see John Candy? Like that?
Yeah, never stressed, never red in the face, never temperamental. The one thing I watched an old highlight of Joe Montana. They said, what's noticed Montana in the most pressure-packed moments? His eyes never changed. He never looked stressed or freaked out or the moment was too big for him. Everybody I see Purdy listed at 6'2". Bro, that's no way. I'm just under 6'3". And I'm about 270 pounds. That dude looks mad shrimpy. I'm sorry. If I was on TV, I'd look way bigger than him. But then again, I don't know. Maybe I would look shorter.
Maybe he was listed at 6'2", so he could be drafted instead of being no. Who knows? Hey, sometimes they do those things. Sometimes, like what Kevin Durant used to say, he would always say he was like 6'11" because he didn't want to be viewed as a 7-footer because that could kind of like take away from, he wanted to be shorter. Like there's guys, hey man, guys always alter stuff, whether it's an inch or two,
everywhere. Especially if there's no way they got to prove it.
That's what she said.
Especially when there's no way you can prove it.
Yeah.
Man, that's messed up.
Pause,
that's so true.
I got to go back and listen to how I just worded all that one, man. That could have been.
Thank you, Jack, again for another $2. He says Purdy just has to get the ball to the playmakers. No turnovers. Yep. Yeah. No cap. I agree.
Yeah. Big roster, Rooster or Big Rooster Brock. Yep. Big Rooster Brock.
Yep. BCB. I don't know what is going on with these nicknames. Like somebody in the locker room, or they're just doing it. I don't know, man. That don't make no sense. These small guys.
They're having fun. Hey, it was all Kyle Shanahan's. Kyle started it. He was like, "Hey, man, he got balls," and it just took off. That's all it took, man.
I feel like Kittle might have a little bit of responsibility behind the nickname. Just saying.
Oh yeah. He made
Kittle,
it official. He
said it about Nick Mullins too. BDN.
Oh, Lord.
I'm just like,
did he?
Oh, goodness.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was BDN.
Oh man, I
Big
forgot
Rooster
about
Nick.
all that.
Let's talk about. We got. How is your opinion? What is your opinion, and what's your feeling how Diamador Lenore has played so far this year, considering he's kind of come into a kind of a really tough situation?
Absolutely phenomenal, without trying to say cliche or, trying to say cliche, but man, last year he was, I'll see the comments, but, man, he's just doing great, man. Thomas looked like he was the number one dude, behind, or he looked like, he could potentially be the number one dude coming in, and man, Lenore has just evolved, and it doesn't feel like Lenore is that guy. Like, hey, there's Lenore. We know what we're going to eat today from the opposition. The opposition isn't like, hey, we got Lenore on the island. We're eating all day. I don't see that this year, with the Josh Normans or Kirkpatrick or bringing guys off the street and even though, Josh Norman did get a lot of fumbles and he wasn't the worst in history, but still, it feels like I don't have that unconfidence in Lenore that we used to kind of have back in the day. I think he's done freaking great, man. He could tackle. It feels like he could tackle. Hey, he got the pick. I'm thinking, does he have a few picks now? Or I
don't know. I know he got the one in the game against Miami.
Okay.
That was that, he was there. They sometimes you might not be in on the play, but the fact that you're around the ball is just as effective. If you're assignment savvy and you're on your P's and Q's, they would say, you're within the area of the ball. He caught it. That thing didn't bounce.
Hey, it just looks like he's not getting burnt, or he isn't. He isn't just
Hell, they seem to be going to Javarius Ward or Jimmy Ward to get all their
yeah.
stuff. So, what about Hufunga? We talked about it earlier. About he said he's my brother said he reminds him a little bit of the dude from Diggs from the Cowboys. Like he's a gambler, and sometimes his gambles pay off, and he makes huge game changing plays. And then there's the play that he made where he bid up on the underneath stuff, and Javarius Ward needed inside help because it was an inside release, and there was no safety there. So, I mean, I'm pretty good with how Hufunga's play, but he's definitely not perfect. He has a lot of work to be. It, what's his name was talking, Larry Krueger, about his knock was speed. He doesn't have that recovery speed. So if he blows a coverage and he gets sucked up the wrong way, he has a propensity to get beat. He has some issues with tackling too. He's missed some big tackles and stuff at games, but I think he's played well. What do you think about Huff?
I think he was exactly what we needed. I was preaching all off season long about the importance of turnovers. And I know the NFL teams know this, but then I started doing research on the last 27 Super Bowl winning teams.
Nice.
And the last 27 Super Bowl winning teams, 24 of those teams had a Pro Bowl, or all pro player in the secondary. 3 of those teams that didn't, had it either the year before or the year after. And that's one thing we lacked in our secondary was a Pro Bowler or all pro type of player. And I feel like Hufunga, he's obviously not an all pro yet, but I feel like he definitely could be. I mean, this man is around almost every turnover we have, and that's what we lacked from, Jaquiski Tart, Jimmy Ward. You combined all the interceptions of all those guys that we've had in the past, and it wasn't too many. And Hufunga is on the verge of being the first San Francisco 49er, I think, since 2014 to get 5. So, I mean, that just speaks volumes to me. It's like he's doing the right things. And I think one of the more important things compared to Diggs, I don't know how accountable Diggs is, but Hufunga said himself, hey, I bit. I bit on the cheese. I chased the cheese. I need to be lactose intolerant. That's what Hufunga said about himself. I need to not bite on that. So I think he's smart enough. I think he has the instincts that can make up for that lack of speed. We've seen it time. I think he brings way more to the table than some of the things he lacks at. I think he makes up.
The fact that he gets turnovers.
Yeah,
that's something
turnovers.
Tart never did. Tart was like solid.
And tackles
and until
behind.
you got a guy that was going to be able to replace him, that guy had to do something extraordinary to replace Tart. And I didn't think that we should have got rid of Tart. I wanted to keep him. I thought Hufunga showed that maybe he was not that great last year, and I was totally wrong. So, I love being wrong. I love being proven wrong when it comes to players. And maybe, I usually don't call guys and say they suck and they're a bust. And thus it's like a Dante Pettis or, AJ Jenkins or something where you just know they suck.
Hey, I was that guy in the offseason, like, hey, Jerry Rice only ran 4 or 5. Jerry Rice only did it, kind of watch if he got the instincts, if he got the heart. I think I kept talking a lot about the heart. If he got that right heart, he's going to be there. And hey, man, Shanahan never admits too much, but he was like, man, I'm trying to think exactly what else he said because I hate misquoting people, but he said something along the lines of, man, that might have been a mistake not playing him last year, playing him more, so that was kind of cool to see Shanahan, continue to grow in that kind of a way.
Do you think the Niners defense can, if they have a lead next week and figure out a way to close it out, unlike the Saints, you think the Niners, because I was one thing I noticed watching that Buck game, man, once they scored that first touchdown, I knew it was a wrap. I think the Niners, that's the one thing. If we're up and we're not by a lot at the end of the game, man, that defense, that offense needs to figure out a way to keep that game, from getting it back to Brady's hands with not a lot of time. Because if Brady gets the ball late, I'm just I don't care how good our defense is. I'd choose Brady over us, and that's not a good thing to say, but that's the honest truth. You think the Niners have it within them to play a complete game and put Brady on his butt more times than not?
I think we match up like super well with them. I'd see just Kavarius Ward. I don't know. I just feel like every other place I look, we match up so freaking well. I think we can put Brady on his butt. And the realistic side of me keeps wanting to say like 17-16. This is going to be that down to the last second. But then my real gut, and this isn't just me trying to be optimistic. This isn't just me. This is like something tells me that I would not be surprised if we put a beat down on him, man.
I was going to
But
say you think there's part of you that
I
thinks it's going to be
really,
close,
I
and part of you thinks we got to blow the doors off these guys.
I really like. Hey, call me crazy because man, it just I wouldn't be surprised, man. And like, I have a number in my head, and I feel like I don't even want to say, but I wouldn't be surprised, man, to see a
31-13 or something like that.
Yeah, 27-10 or just something off the hook like that. Like, oh my God. Like, it feels like this team is special. And I don't feel like the Bucs are special in that kind of way. Tom Brady is special. He did it. We've seen him do it versus Green Bay. He has those games but I think our defense is different. And I don't think teams realize it until they feel it, until they are on the field. I feel like everybody was blowing up the Miami Dolphins. They didn't realize it. And we could make all the excuses.
Hey, I thought the Dolphins would give us a hard time and maybe beat us with that speed. And they showed they could. They just consistently couldn't do it the whole game. But I mean, like, they can score from anywhere on the field.
And people say, and a lot of people, hey, if Tua would have hit a few of those passes, it could have been a completely different game. Hey, he didn't hit on a few of those passes. And I feel like it was the fear of the defense. I feel like I kept hearing the announcers. It's the fear of the game, or no. He said, it's the emotions of the game.
It's the Niners have been in a lot of big games over the last couple of years. This is a really first real big game the Dolphins have been in because they haven't been a really good team, and now they're actually really good. And so now you get into these games that feel like a playoff atmosphere, and some teams don't. They know that they need to grow a little bit more. The Niners have been there. They've had two deep playoff runs in the last 3 seasons. So, like, the Niners can get up for these big games. And I thought maybe, like, the Dolphins, maybe they got a little overwhelmed. Maybe Tua was overwhelmed. Tua has played really well this year. I mean, he's played fantastic. They got 2 damn good receivers. Their defense is real banged up. I want to touch on this real quick because Ted put this there earlier, and I saw it. He says that both safeties and Wirfs are doubtful. This is more of an onus now. Both needs to play because Tristan Wirfs ain't playing. I heard both of their tackles might be. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm confident. I'm confident with Samson. I'm confident with the Manahue and Drake Jackson and Kerry Hyder and Eric Armstead. And I know there's a couple of guys I'm probably forgetting.
Every time I hear Drake Jackson's voice or name, I hear of this the song from I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Somebody's got to make a riff on that, like Bashar. You got to make make a riff on I'm sorry, Drake Jackson instead of Miss Jackson. Please go do that. And then their safeties are both doubtful. I mean, it's weird. I'm like happy, but like, I don't know. Is Brock going to be able to take those safeties being out and use it as an advantage? We don't know. I really don't. But
if I had to put my money on it, if I really had to put my money, is it going to be a super close game, or are we going to win? Let me just say by more than I feel like I would put my money on we're going to win by 10 or more points than 3 and less. I know that's kind of weird to like really wrap, but that's just the true gut feeling I have. And that's even, man, I wish I wasn't a fan for a minute so I could really look at it from that angle. I just feel like
I know what you mean. Like, sometimes when we're fans, it's hard for us to kind of step outside of it.
The other factor is they're traveling. They're playing on an early week. We've been at home posted. We went through this adversity, going to the altitude, going to the snow, the emotions of the game in Mexico City. I know it was versus the garbage Cardinals, but then, just it just feels like everything is in our favor. Plus, we're young and hungry and getting healthy, and just it's like it's all flowing in the right. I mean, I feel like it would take Brock Purdy to really screw it up.
Would you be willing to say that there's a many layers to this?
There's so many freaking layers, man. There's like 53 freaking layers to this game, man.
Love
It's
it.
like
I love
it's
it.
like
I love that
so
you were
many.
able to like not be mad that I'm asking you that.
Ah, and I try to tell people whenever I mock somebody, I'm like, hey, this is not
But this is
me.
not a mock. This is like I love
Yeah.
it because
Hey, hey.
you have your cadence, the way you speak is completely you. Like I sound like Ray Romano. There's a million guys that sound like me. Howard Stern, Kermit the Frog. Like you have your own deal. Like so, I love it. I just had to ask you if you think there's going to be a lot of layers. So,
So many freaking layers.
there's always a lot of layers. I'm like you. I think with the football part of me, and then I think with the fan part of me, so I'm always like all confused about what I should think. There's part of me that says like, yeah, I think we're going to beat the brakes off these cats. And then there's a part of me thinking, well, the football side of me says the Niners haven't really proven that they can blah, 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 game to game. So it's like, so every blowout we've had this year, I did not expect any of them. So we'll see, man. 49er mind. He's like, no, and he sounds like me for good reason. Yeah, you're definitely one of one. He sounds nothing like Mahomes. No, I sound more like Ray Romano. Mahomes is Kermit all day, every day, for sure.
Pat Mahomes, it gets there's a big difference between you and that because Pat Mahomes gets man, how do I say it gets annoying real quick for me personally.
It sounds like he can't. My brother has.
I could listen to you. I could listen to you, and I don't get it.
I had a girl in middle school that used to tell me to shut up. I was in 8th grade. She used to tell me to shut up. I hate your voice. That's what she used to say to me anytime I was near her.
It's a cold world.
I was just like, damn. I mean, I know my voice, and I was very self-conscious about it. I remember I did a school project for one of my friends where they had to do like a simulated plane crash, right? They had to do, and they did like a slideshow where they had us all bandaged up, and they had to do the slideshow part of the presentation first, and then all of us read a script. I helped them with their school project. And so everyone went to go watch it in the living room, and I sat downstairs by myself because I was so self-conscious of my voice. I hated it so much. It bothered me so much. Now that I've done this for a while, I don't mind listening to myself. Some people can. I've had people tell me you have like one of the worst voices for YouTube. That's fine. It's all good. Whatever.
I hate watching myself, or I know it's hard. The word hate is hard, but sometimes I'll catch myself. Yeah, I don't know. Certain things I do or the way I talk, it's like sometimes my brain goes faster. Whatever. It is what it is.
I forget a lot of stuff when I'm on here, and I hate it. So like I like always having someone who's smarter than me as a co-host, so they can always be like, "Hey, what was that, dude?" And then they get it right away. And I'm always like forgetting the most basic person on the team's name because I get that pressure. I see the people watching, and I'm like, yeah, it's really bad. It's pretty bad.
I get it. I'm naturally a little slow, no, but I just hide it really well. Nobody might not be able to see it.
Celts, where are you from? That's what Chris wants to know.
I am from Vallejo, California, 707, probably like 45 minutes from San Francisco, about an hour in between Sacramento and San Francisco. It's trying to think of any other city. Yeah, it's just right smack dab in the middle. It's a super, super hard and tough town, but it's super beautiful. Probably the best weather you could get, man. Absolutely.
I just got to say, Tommy Huxley for people. That's it inside. I'll let you know. I'll let you know after stream. Thank you again for another $2. He says, "Love my Niners, but Brady is Brady Bucks 17-16 shaky." Oh, so he's picking the Bucks to win. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be right down the street from E40 49er minded. CC Sabathia came out from Vallejo, Jeff Gordon, the singer Her, I believe. Yeah, she came from out here, Mac Dre.
The only person that came from
Rochester
what
it is.
Was the wrestler Chyna. She's from where I'm from.
Hey, that's
the one that wrestled in the WWE that passed away. Yeah, she was right around Rochester, New York.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
That's crazy.
China was dope, man. She's one of
Uh,
the wrestlers I remember, and I'm not big into wrestling at all.
right. That was
Like I know,
she was a
I,
trendsetter for all the women that wrestled.
I think I know. Yeah, I definitely know China. I think growing up though, I liked Goldberg, Ultimate Warrior,
Yeah, like high energy guys.
Stone Cold. Yeah, those were kind of a few of
I
my guys.
didn't watch wrestling till probably the late 90s. So I was like a Undertaker, Rock, Austin.
Yeah, Rock was dope.
Trying to
Sting was
think.
pretty dope.
Sting was tight.
Yeah.
Didn't like anybody. I had not a big fan of like NWO or Kevin Nash and all them, even though they were cool. I didn't like them. I thought they were, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get back
Was
to
it
football.
wasn't Mike Tyson a part of it for a minute?
He was in that. He was in
D-Generation X. Oh, now I'm starting to remember a little bit.
Yeah. And used to date China. Oh, I dated a girl that was about as big as China, but that's a whole other thing for a whole other discussion. For any of you who know me, who really know me outside of YouTube, you know that I dated a big beast back in the day. So I'm not going to say anymore. She was crazy. She liked to throw hands on dudes. That's all I'm going to say.
Lord forgive me.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have reacted that way for the.
Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about it. I laugh about it now. It sucked back then, but it's cool now. Let's kind of wrap this up. Where am I going here? The Niners' next opponents. I mean, how do you look at them? What's your kind of record prediction? I think we have the Bucks, what do we have?
Commanders.
The Commanders. No, wait.
Seattle.
Is it the Bucks Commanders? Is it?
I think it's the Bucks, Seattle Commanders, and then the Cardinals at the very end. But who's the team? There's a team in there that is kind of slipping my mind as well. I'm pretty sure those are four.
The Raiders.
The Raiders. How could I freaking forget the freaking Raiders?
Somebody said "Doink the Clown" in chat.
Hey man, it's set up beautifully for us. We don't got to do no more traveling. We've been already home for a few weeks. All we got to do is go to Las Vegas and Seattle. Yeah. I mean that ain't
Niners
nothing.
Need to take care of their home and split on the road, pretty much.
I think the Commanders and Seattle will be tough.
Yep, me too.
I don't fear, but then at the same time, I fear more the elements of going to Seattle. That's always been tough for us, more than Seattle. I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of a little gold dust sprinkled on Seattle. I think once they, suit up against a real one, kind of like how the Cowboys talk. Like the Cowboys are always like, we're putting fear into these teams. I was like, yeah, watch when you guys face a real one. I feel like there's a little fairy dust on some of these teams that are really, really good. And
yeah, they beat up on a lot of trash teams. That's why I think the win against Miami was freaking huge. They're a good team. We beat a good team.
With the third string. With
a third string quarterback. So like
Mr. Irrelevant. Like, I mean, let's go. I'm juiced. I'm juiced to see how it's all gonna pan out. I don't want to say, hey, we're gonna sweep the board and we're gonna just run into these playoffs like straight. It's always gonna be whoever's the healthiest, hottest, and hungriest. And it's looking like we could be that.
Niners just got to take care of business. It's really got to be a 1 week at a time approach as fans and as players. The players aren't thinking about 2 games from now. Their whole focus is on facing the GOAT and finding a way to come out of that game with not a lot of injuries and a victory. And then you move on to the next team and you repeat the same process. To me, what do we have, 5 games remaining? I said 3-2. It was kind of my prediction, which would make us about 11-6. I hope it's more of the 4-1 variety or even a sweep. I just don't believe as positive as I want to be with the 49ers. I can't be that positive with Purdy because we don't really know yet.
So we got 4 losses. Yeah, I don't want to.
I don't want no more losses.
I have not thought about this for probably 4 or 5 weeks, but my initial season prediction was 16-4, and that would equal us winning the Super Bowl. There's still hope for it, y'all. There's still freaking hope, and
it means we have to run the table from now until February.
Man, I wish I would have not even have thought of it, or I feel like I just completely screwed it up. It's all my fault if it doesn't happen now. No,
No, at this point, we'd have to hope that the Vikings would lose a bunch of games. The Vikings, unless they collapse, they're the one seed. And then wherever we rank is where we rank. We just got to worry about winning our division. That's it.
Absolutely.
Win our division, have a better record than, the second or third team in there. As long as we get in, I think we can be dangerous. I think the 49ers in a tournament, home or away, our style of football travels well. And yes, I would love to have a home game or two, but getting into the dance, once you're in the dance, you never know. So,
hey, and we're battle tested, man.
Yep.
Hey, it's like, God, man, it's looking really good for us. And that's why you see some of these big organizations like, hey, man, I'm viewing the 49ers right there with the Eagles.
Yep.
There's a lot of these people, and I rarely watch ESPN. I've seen one little clip of it. So it's not, I rarely watch ESPN, rarely watch TV. I watch a couple of guys when I do have the time, I will come and check you out and try to support as much as I can on YouTube.
Me too. It's weird. I feel bad sometimes when I can't support everybody.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
If I'm off on a day, I'll try to jump in as many streams as possible, but there's times where I just there's times where maybe I'm a little burnt out or something, and I don't want anybody to think like, hey, I didn't try. Thank you again. Is this number 4? Thank you very much.
Look at Big Jag,
Jaguayo beats the Saints, Cards, Raiders, 11-6. Good. Yeah, it's kind of where my mind is record wise, but you never know. Somebody mentioned Randy Savage before. He's probably my favorite wrestler.
I just think about Bashar's.
Yeah.
I think his old intro. Yeah, the cream of the crop.
That guy did
the way he flicks the freaking thing. I freaking love it, man. The way he flicks the cream.
Yeah, he puts it in the guy's pocket and then takes it out. And then that one time he's talking about Tito Santana and he's carrying around a garbage can. He's like, I think he's garbage. And he's talking about he's nothing but garbage.
Man.
And he throws the garbage can at the end of the interview. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Talk about one of a kind.
Yeah.
Like that,
Too bad he passed away, man. He was small, but he was like entertaining. He was as
brother.
Yeah, to me, he's like the Brock. We're gonna go Brock Purdy again here. He's a small guy. He's underestimated, but has had gigantic testicular fortitude. So hopefully Brock Purdy is our macho man, Randy Savage, and he comes off the top rope at the elbow against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But hey, listen, everybody, appreciate everybody coming through. We're gonna get out of here. You can find Celts Chronicles on Twitter. His channel is Celts Chronicles on YouTube. Be sure to check him out. He does a Monday show, I think, called Straight Out of the Bay.
Yep.
With, let me see if I can get this right. Yourself, Amin the Dream, Bay Area Baller, and Jay in the Bay, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, and follow all of those guys, too. I have to get up with Jay one of these days and have a stream with him. It's weird, man. Like, I'm out of work right now, so I can really kind of be free. When I'm at work, it's hard because I get really tired and achy. So, like, even if I have a stream scheduled, it's like I almost want to like make an excuse to get out of it.
It's a drag.
Yeah, but then anytime I'm doing it, I end up being happy. So appreciate everybody coming through. Thanks for supporting us and staying here for the whole hour and 38 minutes. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and healthy. I might do a post-game stream Sunday. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not committing to anything. Games take a lot out of me emotionally. I get really stressed. So see you later, everybody. I hope everybody has a great rest of your night. Have a great weekend. Peace.
Peace.